Hello everyone, my name is Drew Hare, and today we'll be talking about Battle of the Elements. In the left corner we have the Arizona Wildcats, and in the right corner we have the University of Chicago. Now talking about these two places, University of Arizona obviously is in Arizona, southern United States, extremely hot, dry desert, and in the northern middle part of the United States we have Chicago, which is known for being windy and cold. So when talking about these two schools, we will be first talking about the rankings and programs both of these schools offer. The University of Arizona has some pretty decent rankings. So in the US News University rankings, University of Arizona comes in at 37th in the nation for their physics program. In the QS Global Statistics, they come in around 100th in the world for their physics program. On niche, they come in at 61st in the nation, and on academic universities, they come in at 101st in the world. So a little discrepancy in the national ranking for the physics program, but globally they're ranked about 100th in the world. So somewhat consistent rankings for being around the middle of the pack, I guess you could say, for the physics program. One of the nice things about their physics program, though, is that they actually have a dual major in physics and astronomy, which is very appealing to me because I want to be going into astrophysics. So that definitely is a plus that their university has a double major, and it makes it super accessible for me to learn both content material at the same time. For University of Chicago, they are ranked in the US by the US News as seventh in the nation, very prestigious, very high ranking. QS Global, they're ranked 17th in the world, which is extremely phenomenal. In niche, they're also ranked 7th in the nation, and by Academic Global, they're ranked 5th in the world. So, as you can see, QS has them as 17th in the world, but Academic has them 5th. And with US News and niche again, very consistent in the nation, very highly ranked for their physics program. They're known to have the Fermi Lab, where the first nuclear experiments were tested, so their physics program very highly known. And one of their really great things about their program is that with a physics degree, you can take both your normal curriculum for your degree while also at the same time taking any other classes you want. The University of Chicago believes that you shouldn't be subject to just one university or college of arts or medicine. You should be allowed to take whatever classes you want. So you take your core curriculum for your degree and you're allowed to take whatever other classes you want. And for that reason, about 91% of people come out with a minor along with their degree, and 43% have a dual major at the minimum. Let's now talk about the metropolis slash location. Now, the specific weather of these areas does not pertain too much to me, but the city itself, the culture, income level, how much I'm going to enjoy being at the city itself does pertain a lot to me because I'm someone that loves to have lots of experiences and truly enjoy the culture of that area. So in Tucson, where University of Arizona is located. There's a population of about 545,000 people. The climate is obviously dry, hot, and it's very deserty. The city has been around since 1877, so it's been around a long time. There's a lot of history to the city, so a lot of time for culture to evolve. The average income of the area is about 51,000, and that's important because it can really be a good deterministic number for how much disposable income people have to spend on things in the city. And if people have money to spend, then there'll be a lot more things to do in the actual city. The size of the city itself is 226 square miles, so fairly big. It's not crazy, but it's still pretty big. The population density is about 2,800 people per square mile. So again, that's a fair number of people. And a lot of the big selling points for the University of Arizona in Tucson is that there's a lot of observatories because obviously it's very dry. There's not a lot of particles to stop observatories from being able to see stars. There's the graveyard. The graveyard is, well, kind of what it sounds like. It's a place for dead things, but the graveyard specifically is for the U.S. military, where they store unused planes and aircrafts that they no longer use, but that people can still like tinker with, and you can go and walk through it and observe planes and how they were made. It's a really cool place, and if you watch any videos, there's just shots of hundreds upon hundreds of planes just sprawled all nice and ordered. Um, Another selling point is that it's closer to home, so it's cheaper for flights, but currently in the situation, tickets are only like $25 for a round flight trip, honestly, for most places. And it's not too far of a drive from LA, California, where a lot of big companies are that involve space, like SpaceX. Boeing has some stuff down in Cali as well. So those are some of the big selling points for Tucson. In Chicago, though, obviously much bigger city, there's a population of 2.7 million people. The climate in the summer is hot and humid, but in the winter it's really snowy and cold, and it's not called the Windy City for nothing. There's a lot of wind throughout the year. Um, it was founded in 1833, so it has about 44 years of history. And Chicago obviously is much more well known, so there's a lot more culture to it. The average income of Chicago area for 2.7 million people is 58,000 per year, which doesn't sound like much compared to 51,000, but that's a lot more disposable income for a city to have. So there's going to be a lot more things to do. The size of it is 234 square miles, which is only about 8 square miles bigger than Tucson. But again, the population density is 6 times higher. So there's 12,000 people per square mile. So that's a lot more people to interact with, a lot more things to do, a lot more culture. Um, and obviously, one of the big selling points for Chicago is that it is extremely rich in culture. There's a vibrant jazz scene. Chicago is known for its deep dish, which I personally hate, but there's something it's well known for. There's a lot of contractors in Chicago as well. It's a big metropolis city, so it's trying to draw in as many people as it can from the city. So there's a lot of contractors. Um, it's kind of a close bound between East and West Coast, somewhat, but it's the largest city in between both coasts. There's a long history of innovation within the Chicago community in physics specifically. A lot of people came from Chicago and the University of Chicago to go work on the Manhattan Project, and like I said, the Fermi Lab experiment, where the first nuclear um, reactor experiment happened at the University of Chicago. And surprisingly, Chicago is actually not very expensive to live in compared to other metropolis cities. Obviously, it's still quite expensive, but when you compare the prices of living to other cities like LA, New York, Seattle, it surprisingly is not very expensive, which is very nice. The final category will be college prestige slash future. And what I mean by this is how prestigious of a college it is, or total, not just in the physics area, and how much will it be offering for me in a future in whatever field I want to go in, and how much connections and prestige will it offer me as an individual with that college on my resume. So for the University of Arizona, they have an acceptance rate about 83%. So it's a pretty high acceptance rate. I wouldn't say it's not very competitive. They have a 4-year graduation rate of 44.7%, which is okay, I guess you could say. There's still a lot of people that aren't finishing their 4 years at the University of Arizona. The mean salary post-graduation 10 years after they've graduated is about 50,000 per year, which isn't very high considering it's a university and most people are getting university degrees. The mean ACT is 25 going in from high school, SAT 1230, and GPA 3.49. So pretty average grades, I'd say, pretty average grade point, ACT, SAT. And the number of people who have graduated from University of Arizona and gone on to do things in the real world and gotten Nobel Prizes are three. So University of Arizona in Tucson has been around, not close to University of Chicago, but still been around for quite a long time. And they only have about three Nobel Prizes. Obviously, that's not a giant indicator about what these people are doing, but there is prestige to the college associated with how many people go from this college to go on to do things in life. And the school as a whole has a budget about 1.1 billion, which is a lot of money, but compared to a lot of other colleges is not as much. So there's some prestige somewhat to University of Arizona. It is a university, obviously, but compared to Ivy or other colleges around the world, it is not as prestigious. The University of Chicago, on the other hand, is very well known for its prestige. It has an acceptance rate of about 7.9%, a 4-year graduation rate of 86%, which is extremely high, uh, median salary post-graduation 10 years after graduation of 61,000 per year, and the mean ACT going into the University of Chicago is 34, 1520, and 3.99 for ACT, SAT, GPA. So extremely competitive benchmarks, and most people going into University of Chicago, not even most, all people going to University of Chicago have some trait or something that is making them special or stand out, along with their very extremely competitive standards. The number of people who have graduated from the University of Chicago and gone on to win something like a Nobel Prize is about 91 people. So an extremely large amount of people have come out of the University of Chicago, and it is an extremely well-known school for having people who go on to do something prestigious with their life. And the school has a budget 4 times higher than the University of Arizona with about 4.4 billion. So there's a lot more prestige to the school than the University of Arizona as well. That is my presentation. Thank you all very much for listening. Here is a cute photo of baby Drew as he looks on to the future of post-secondary education and hopefully ends up getting into a university that he likes very much. Thank you.